On the news, confusion as Central Bank of Nigeria denies directing banks to collect old 500 and 1,000 naira notes. Roads blocked as fresh protests rock several states across Nigeria over naira scarcity. And after 46 years, NNPCL takes over as federal government rests NNPC. It's good to have you join us on News Now. At this time, I am Mary Kanu. There is confusion as to whether Nigerians can deposit the old 500 naira and 1,000 naira notes, as there have been reports that the Central Bank of Nigeria has ordered deposit money banks to collect the old 500 and 1,000 naira notes from customers. It had been widely reported that the director of the Apex Bank's Corporate Communications Department, Osita Wanisobi, confirmed the development, but in a statement, Wanisobi on Friday said the Apex Bank is only reissuing and recirculating the old 200 naira banknotes, which is expected to circulate as legal tender up to April 10, 2023, in line with President Muhammadu Buhari's directive. The Apex Bank had on Wednesday opened a portal on its website to enable Nigerians who could not take their old notes to commercial banks within the stipulated deadline to redeem or deposit them by completing an online form on the platform. Meanwhile, the alleged new directive from the CBN comes hours after many Nigerians in the early hours of Friday stormed the CBN offices and demanded that the Apex Bank collect their own notes.
Another big crowd here from Lagos Marina. CBN crowd here. Lagos Marina House live from Lagos.
In a related development, despite President Muhammadu Buhari's directive approving the use of the old 200 naira note as legal tender, Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has said the old and new naira notes will remain legal tender in Kaduna State pending the Supreme Court's decision. In a broadcast, El-Rufai said all the old notes would remain legal tender until the Apex Court determines the suit on the matter, and assured residents of the state of efforts to ease the hardship caused by the scarcity of the naira notes.
On behalf of the Kaduna State Government, I wish to assure you that none of you would lose the money you have in old notes. Let no artificial or illegal deadline frighten you. Whether you live in towns, villages, or in our isolated rural communities, do not feel stampeded to deposit your old notes into the banks. Hold on to them. Continue to use them as legal tender as ordered by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. No deadline can render them worthless, ever. The law is on your side. The Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007 in Section 20, subsection 3, and the Bills of Exchange Act both oblige the Central Bank of Nigeria to recognize your old notes and give you value in new notes whenever you bring them to the CBN, even in the next 100 years. Therefore, as your governor, I wish to assure you that the Kaduna State Government, in collaboration with elected legislators, our traditional institution, elected local government councils, markets and traders associations, and so on, will help you collect, record, document, collect, and deliver all your old notes to the Kaduna branch of the Central Bank on your behalf into the new ones immediately after the elections.
And El-Rufai also accused the governor of the central bank, Godwin Emefiele, of having an ulterior motive behind the recent monetary policy, which has caused many Nigerians great discomfort in the past weeks. The Kaduna State governor alleged that Emefiele and his supporters within the presidency plan to make life difficult for Nigerians, undermine the works of the government, and see to it that the forthcoming elections do not hold.
The Central Bank of Nigeria constantly alluded to the fact that the policy also targets politicians who have accumulated a huge war chest for vote buying during the forthcoming elections. It is now clear that the president has been deceived by the Central Bank of Nigeria and some elements in his government into buying into this overarching narrative in the name of ensuring free and fair elections in 2023. They also sought to achieve any one or more of the following objectives. Number one, to create a nationwide shortage of cash so that citizens are incited to vote against APC candidates across the board, resulting in massive losses for the party in all the elections. Number two, ensure that the cash crunch is so serious, along with the contrived and enduring fuel shortage existing since September 2022, that the 2023 elections do not hold at all, leading to an interim national government to be led by a retired army general. And number three, sustain the climate of shortage of fuel, food and other necessities, leading to mass protests, violence and breakdown of law and order that will provide a fertile foundation for a military takeover. In the pursuit of these objectives, the Central Bank of Nigeria and these other disgruntled federal officials have so far convinced the president that it is fine for ordinary citizens to be dispossessed of their hard-earned money.
The effects of the naira crunch has continued to cause untold hardship for many Nigerians. In Lagos State on Friday, residents were stranded as protests broke out around the Ojota area of the state before spreading to Maryland, K2, Mile 12 and some parts of Ikorodu. The unrest comes barely 24 hours after the state broadcast of President Muhammadu Buhari ordering the use of the old 200 naira note until April 10 and the return of the old 500 and 1,000 naira notes to the Central Bank of Nigeria. Our correspondent Folashade Ogurinde tells us more in this next report.
Ojota, everywhere have scattered. Ojota, so
as early as 6 a.m. on Friday morning, videos of an unrest at the Ojota area of Lagos emerged online. The videos, which went viral on all social media platforms, had an unknown person warning residents to steer clear of the area as the protests had spread to Maryland, K2, Mile 12 and some parts of Ikorodu. Though normalcy was restored a few hours later by men of the Nigeria Police Force, the Ojota Expressway had become a shadow of itself with a handful of commercial and private vehicles on the road. At the Ojota Park, some motorists who had resumed loading passengers recounted what triggered the unrest.
The issue escalated from Mile 12. So, and it's also affecting other cities very close to Mile 12. So with that, people wanted to emulate the issue, the way they started it. So, and the soldiers intervened. They said no, and they had to send everybody away from it. So that was why the whole issue concerning Ojota. The issue of the old naira notes caused the issue. Ever since Buhari made it clear on air yesterday, and the whole issue changed from what the governors has really directed the citizens to do.
I heard some noise was just going on, so I have to wake up to know what. I saw people were running, so I have to wake up and I stand beside, because you know the country we are is not safe enough for us to come out publicly and said I want to confirm what really happened, because I was hearing gunshot, so you know not anything can happen.
They say hoodlums took advantage of the latest directive barring the legality of the old 500 and 1,000 naira notes to cause mayhem in the area. For many residents, the naira swap policy has caused more hardship They are stuck with the old 500 and 1,000 naira notes and cannot pay for transportation or buy basic food items.
This 1,000 naira said they did not collect it. I have a baby. Even I want to buy Pampers, I cannot be able to buy. I want to buy something. They are not collecting. Even mineral said they are not collecting it. We want to eat. We will not be able to eat. This thing is too much. People are suffering. Please help us, I beg.
It's very quite unfortunate in this country that we find ourselves. We believe Nigeria is our father's land, but we are very surprised due to what is happening now. To me, I think all the notes should come back to life.
If you reach filling station, if you want to buy fuel, they don't collect the new note. They are old one. It's only new note that they find. So I say we're going to tell passengers say enter with your new note. The passengers they will tell you say they don't have that new note again. So what will you do?
For weeks now, the redesigned naira policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, ending the legality of the 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes, has sparked controversy between the federal government and 9 state governments. While the case in the Supreme Court has been adjourned for further hearing to February the 8th, the matter has taken a new twist with President Muhammadu Buhari insisting that the new policy remains. Folashade Ogurinde, TV360 News.
Well, despite the destruction and fracas that have erupted as a result of the CBN's naira redesign policy, the economy is also somewhat affected. And to better help us understand how, we're joined on the news by Frank Osobwe, an alumnus of the United Nations African Institute for Economic Development and Planning. Thank you very much for joining me on the news. Now, the effect of the central bank's directive has taken the shape of protests across the country. Help us paint a picture. In the long term, how would you say the country's economy will be affected by this policy?
Thank you very much. In the long term, the country's economy is going to still be adversely affected. In the short term, the negative effects will be very severe. Having a situation where the CBN is mopping up money from circulation, they are taking out money from circulation without injecting money into the circulation. So they need to inject money into the system so that people can have access to their money and economy. Right now, nothing is happening. The economy is halted. Everything is at a standstill. People cannot transact except through online platforms. So our economy is essentially or basically a spot economy. What that means is that transactions are paid for immediately or at the point of purchases. So cash is necessary for such spot economy. Without cash, the economy will definitely suffer, which is what we're going through now. In the long run, if this is continued, the economic condition will be very, very bad, and it will take a longer time to heal.
Now, alongside the protests, somehow the CBN's naira redesign policy has also generated a conflicting situation, with the Supreme Court's order and the President's directive on the old 200 naira notes being legal. And now we have state governors threatening banks that fail to accept the old notes. So I must ask how you would say this will affect the general business environment of Nigeria.
Again, this will have a negative effect on the general business environment. The international business audience will lose faith. They will lose confidence in the Nigerian economy. The local business audience, the organized private sector, the micro and medium-scale enterprise sector, everyone will lose faith. They will lose hope. They will lose confidence. And then transactions generally, business transactions generally have been slowed down badly. Many factories are operating far below plant size now, far below their installed capacity. And you know what that means. In the short term and even in the medium term, there's a high likelihood of people, workers losing their jobs. The economy is also going to suffer negatively. There will be losses. Companies will incur heavy losses. The banking sector, for instance, they are going to suffer a lot because many people will find it difficult to start banking the way they used to. So there is urgent need for all the factions, both the Supreme Court, the state governors, the presidency, and the CBN, to look at things from the perspective of the negative impact and then come up with solutions, particularly solutions that will ensure smooth transactions, because currently the country is not experiencing very smooth transactions. If you pay through online, sometimes these payments don't go because the infrastructure, they are actually not up to this. They were not really designed for this kind of impromptu rise in pressure. The bandwidth of some of these apps, all these bank apps, they are not really functioning efficiently. So you can't turn this or transform the economy overnight from a spot economy to a cashless economy. It takes phasing, it takes some form of transition, and the government needs to engage that.
All right, now, Frank Osogwe, alumnus of the United Nations African Institute for Economic Development and Planning, thank you very much for your time and your contribution. Now, with the recent attacks on banks across the country, the Nigeria Police Force has warned against such attacks, describing the action as armed robbery. This warning comes on the heels of attacks on bank facilities in several parts of the country following the naira crunch. The force spokesman, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, who cautioned against the attacks, said it will be resisted and warned against attacks on police officers, appealing to Nigerians to desist from such as the force wants to use the minimum force on people. And the 2023 general election is upon us, and preparations by the contesting political parties towards a successful outing are getting intense by the day. This comes just as the People's Democratic Party, PDP, the All Progressives Congress, APC, and the Labour Party have ruled out their security plans to Nigerians ahead of the February 25 presidential election. The parties disclosed their plans during the youth presidential debate organized by the Atiku Youth World Outreach in Abuja, titled Beyond Politics for Love of Country. According to the patron of Atiku Youth World Outreach, Mariam Atiku, the debate was organized to bring youth from the different parties to exchange ideas towards a better future for Nigeria.
We are the modern youth. We are the new generation. We are the new Nigeria. We are, as you can see, the event states beyond politics. Election not be war. So we are trying to emulate what we preach. So this is just the new trend, and definitely you can see for yourself. PDP inviting Labour and APC on one platform to air their view at the same time. At first, we had this misconception like it's not going to work. But look at it today, it's a success. And this is a message to the youth out there that election will not be war.
Regardless of the party you support or the candidate you support, we all can come together to talk and to converse towards the singular goal of electing the right leader for this country. And that's what we've achieved here by bringing the APC, the Labour Party, the PDP together. This election is not worth the life of any Nigerian. So I invite all candidates to maintain peace, law and order, and to also talk to their supporters that this election should be done according to the law, and no violence, no intimidation, no oppression is allowed.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, Chinese retirees take to the streets over plans to cut health benefits. We'll bring you details of this story and more right after this break.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it. Use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Here's a recap of our top stories tonight. The Central Bank of Nigeria has denied reports making the rounds that it has authorized deposit money banks to collect the owed 500 and 1,000 naira notes. In a statement by CBN's Director of Corporate Communications, Osita Wanisobi, on Friday, the Apex Bank said it is only reissuing and recirculating the owed 200 naira banknotes, which is expected to circulate as legal tender up to April 10, 2023, in line with President Muhammadu Buhari's directives. We also told you that despite President Muhammadu Buhari's directive approving the use of the old 200 naira note as legal tender, Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has said the old and new naira notes will remain legal tender in Kaduna State pending the Supreme Court's decision. In a broadcast, El-Rufai said all the old notes would remain legal tender until the Apex Court determines the suit on the matter and assured residents of the state of efforts to ease the hardship caused by the scarcity of the naira notes. And in case you missed any of the news bulletin or for more updates, you can catch us on Maxwell TV or log on to our website in www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, on Facebook at TV360 Online. And hundreds of retirees have taken to the streets of the Chinese cities of Wuhan and Dalian to protest against cuts to medical benefits following rare demonstrations in November that led to the end of China's controversial zero-COVID policy. In the central city of Wuhan, videos posted online showed hundreds of mainly elderly people outside the city's central Zhongshan Park. The demonstrations come weeks ahead of China's annual parliamentary gathering in early March. We'll take a short break and return with business updates. Don't go away. Welcome back. Falashade Ogurinde joins us now with business updates. Falashade, what's the latest?
Well, many thanks, Mary. And in business, after 46 years of operation, the federal government has wrapped up the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, and its replacement. The Petroleum Industry Act enabled Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has taken over as the nation's oil company. Speaking at an event to officially mark the end of NNPC in Abuja, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timi Perceiver, said with the reforms introduced by the federal government, NNPCL is expected to be a competitive and commercially oriented company. Seaver explained that the reforms are expected to make the Nigerian oil and gas industry attractive to investors both locally and internationally. In order to reap the benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Area, non-tariff barriers and hurdles affecting cross-border goods crossings must be addressed, according to the World Bank Group. In a new report titled, "Can African Trade Integration Be a Game Changer?" the Washington-based bank said the AfCFTA, which hopes to connect 54 countries with a combined population of 1.3 billion and GDP of $3.4 trillion, has several challenges to overcome. It also added that African businesses should also see the opportunities, as its research suggests that the agreement has the potential to bring significant economic and social benefits in the form of faster economic growth, higher incomes, and less poverty. We'll take a breather now and be back with a review of the stock market. To stay with us. Friday's trading ended bearish as all share index closed in the reds at 1.31%, leaving market capitalization at the 29 million naira mark. Now, in the aggregate, 106 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 13 gainers and 18 losers. Now, speaking of losers, Farmadeco came out last with an end-of-day price appreciation of 10% at 1.89 naira per share, followed by RT Briscoe. On the winning side, Triple G and Co. led the gainers with 9.94% share price appreciation, closing at 1.99 naira per share, followed by Wapik Insurance. Now, at the end of the week's day trading, we see that a total of 172 million volume of shares valued at 3.7 billion naira exchange hands in 3,077 deals. Now let's see how some of our select global stocks fared. Now we see that FTSE, Dow Jones and Nikkei are all on the bearish side. We see that FTSE ended in the reds at 0.10%, Dow Jones at 0.29% and Nikkei at 0.66%, based on more interest rate hikes. And that's it on the stock markets review. Back to you, Mary, for the rest of the news.
Well, many thanks for the update, Falashade. Now on the global scene, the United Nations Refugee Agency says thousands of people are continuing to flee fighting and insecurity in the disputed Somaliland town of Las Anod. An estimated 60,000 have crossed the border into Ethiopia in the past few weeks. The agency said many arrived exhausted and traumatized, carrying few possessions. In all, the UN estimates that more than 185,000 have been displaced in the Las Anod area as fighting broke out earlier this month between local forces and those of Somaliland, whose declaration of independence has not been internationally recognized. And in sports, the Super Falcons of Nigeria have lost 1-0 to Mexico in the first game at the 2023 Revelations Cup. Kaduna scored the only goal of the game for host Mexico in the 85th minute. The Falcons have now lost 6 straight games, with their last win coming against Cameroon in the quarterfinals of the 2022 Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. The Falcons will hope to bounce back from the defeat when they face Colombia in their second game on Saturday, February 18th. Well, that's our package this evening. Thank you for watching. I am Mary Kanu. Bye for now.